It's Tatas Tuesday, and I was spoiled for choice this week about what to talk about, let me tell you. And I apologize for the kind of shoddy production values I wanted to do on camera. There is not time. It took me so long to run this stuff down that I wanted to get you guys the information, and you don't see my smiling mug, but here are the facts, and you guys are cool about this anyway. What you're looking at right now is one part of an intersection of things that happened this week that at first I thought were separate incidences and I'd have to choose between them. And then I realized, no, they're not. They're actually two sides of the same coin. And so I'm going to present them together. Now, this first instance is obviously more extreme. It's the issue of mass online shaming of I believe she's 17 years old, a young woman was recorded twerking in a hijab. And Maajid Nawaz, who's a prominent, I hope I pronounced his name right, I read his name much more than I hear it, but he's a prominent Muslim dissident. He's written some amazing stuff. When he speaks, I listen, and this is what he had to say about this issue. Here it is in his own words.
A Muslim girl, a British Muslim girl wearing a headscarf, was filmed dancing in the streets of Birmingham, the United Kingdom. Being viewed over 1 million times, the smartphone video went viral. It was ironically popularised in no small part by outraged religious fundamentalist Muslim men who said that this girl in a headscarf should not have been dancing in a high street. So instant, so personal, so severe was the fundamentalist Muslim backlash at this anonymous 17-year-old girl who chose simply to do what she wishes with her own body and dance to some music spontaneously in a high street, that the girl, the poor girl, became petrified and totally capitulated. What happened next is chilling. It will freeze the blood within your very body. Amid threats in YouTube comment threads, such as effing swear word, someone give me her address, I will kill her, and stupid swear word needs to be killed, the young girl was dragged onto a page by a pair of religious fundamentalists who had first posted a picture in disgust at her dancing, and in a recorded audio was forced into an online repentance, a public, tearful apology, repentance, and retraction merely for dancing. Welcome to the United Kingdom in 2017.
Now, that's his version of events. He also did an article in the Daily Beast about it, but you'll note the headline, "Feminists are too busy picking first world fights to see what's under their noses." And I made sure I did my research before talking about this because I didn't want a knee-jerk. Like I said, I'm inclined to agree with Maajid Nawaz on things. I like his general perspective, but in this case, while I think he is essentially presenting the facts truthfully as he sees them, I think he's overstating the case. Now, was the woman subjected to intense hate online regarding this video? Yes. Were those statements made? I'll take his word for it. I was not able to find the original video. It's been pulled down mostly. Now, and obviously this is wrong. Now, I say this as somebody who had my fair share of this stuff as well. People were threatening to harm me and rape me and calling me all these horrible names, and you know, it was over video games in my case, and yes, they were demanding I apologize. Now, it had nothing to do with modesty. It had to do with me being a games journalist. But it was very tribal, and it was very angry. And, you know, it turned out a lot of these people were not horrible people. They expressed their anger in a bad way. And so I was like, all right, because of what happened with gamers and because of my own experiences and it seeming really bad and it seemed overwhelming and it did lead me to break down in tears as well. Like, basically, I have been in this woman's place. And so I went and I found the video of the what did he call religious fundamentalists that dragged her on for a tearful internet apology, and here they are. There are a couple of schmucks on YouTube, okay? And we can deconstruct this all we want, but when you hear Islamic fundamentalist, you think of a guy like you see here with the cap and the traditional dress. You don't think of, a couple of quasi-chavies wearing designer duds, right? I mean, here's the original video where they got all mad. They're wearing Hollister and Adidas and, like, what is that? Is that Tommy Hilfiger up there? Like, these are at least quasi-westernized kids from, I believe, Birmingham. And that doesn't mean they're not capable of extremism. It's just, let's get the picture right. I'm not going to play this whole video. It's too long, because as you can see, it's 18 minutes, but I did watch it. And just to be very clear, the woman didn't break down during her apology. She broke down when they were talking about what happened to her. I'll let you guys hear sort of her tone of voice when she's actually apologizing, because I want to present the whole case here. Here we go.
I'm never going to do something like that again, and I'm sorry for disrespecting it, and thank you to all of you like that. I've said that I made a mistake, but it's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to judge. At the end of the day, I'm going to get judged for it, not you lot.
You can kind of hear it. She's not sobbing. It's not, oh God, I'm so sorry. All that stuff. She's together by that point. And does any of this make what happened to this girl right? No, but these two guys, these extremists, said as much. The point of this video, me watching it, was they said they learned from their initial reaction, which admittedly, I mean, here is their initial reaction.
Mentality, what brain, what cells in your brain are you serving to not understand, like, hold on a second, I am wearing a hijab. I also have loose clothing. Doesn't that, in that, the atoms weight, like, doesn't that make you think, you know what, I'm representing something? Well, if I had a maswak in my hand and I knew the Muslims knew that maswak is something related to Islam, wallahi, I have to be careful to what I'm doing in public.
What they're basically saying there is, what were you thinking doing that in those clothes? And that's a slightly different thing than calling her a whore or a slut or outright slut shaming her. It's still wrong. And I think these guys recognize that. The thing that I find so ironic, almost to the point of funny, about this whole picture of the Hollister and the Hilfiger and the Adidas is that there are modesty dress codes for Muslim men as well that just get totally ignored. You'll see here, there's a whole list of things that Islamic men are supposed to wear. And I'm pretty sure that these guys' lower garments in Western pants are not above their ankles, which is the way Muslim men are supposed to dress. Muslim men are not supposed to wear gold or silk because it's considered effeminate, but Muslim friends of mine have interpreted that to also be a symbol of modesty, and their tradition, their Islamic tradition, forbids the wearing of any designer brand because it's the modern equivalent of wearing gold. You're boasting. You're being immodest. You're strutting around like a peacock. And it discourages the humility that the religion is supposed to encourage in men and women alike. So This is one of the things that Islam and speakers have got to deal with. I want to give these guys credit for at least attempting to be sympathetic. I think they did feel quite bad. But this goes back to that original question, why aren't feminists losing their, I like to call it snaky mittens about it? I don't know why. Just the idea of a snake wearing mittens is a bizarre image to me. And so it's what I say when people go like, we're not supposed to be crazy, we're not supposed to say crazy. But why aren't feminists picking up on this? Well, I don't think it's because they're too busy picking first world fights. I think that might be part of it, yes. I think there's something to that argument. But I also think that a lot of first world feminists actually agree with these guys regarding modesty being some sort of empowering thing. And anytime you decide to twerk or wear a short skirt or do anything like that, you're doing it to be a subject of the male gaze or somehow please men, because this is an issue where a woman was shamed on the internet for dancing in public, and then there was a coerced apology, like, let's face it, not apologizing was not an option. Well, what does that sound like? Bam! Sounds like gaming. It sounds like the way gaming is going because of so-called feminists. Look, Microsoft apologizes for dancers at party. It is the same ingredients in this ridiculous cake mix. You've got a woman dancing in a place where someone found it was inappropriate, they got offended, and there was this big public apology. How is it different? Not at all. So no, it's not necessarily just that it's fixated on first world problems. What Maajid Nawaz calls fundamentalist Muslims, I call douchebag YouTubers, and what feminists in gaming are saying are in agreement. And this was the other thing that I was going to talk about this week. And I shouldn't say they, like I'm not a part of them. I consider myself a feminist for lack of a better term because I'm not getting hung up on words. I'm not going to be afraid of a word. I'm not going to go around going, no, no, no. I'm not going to fight the label. But you know what? I'm not going to defend the entire movement either. Feminism to me is about the theories and the literature and the body of work, not the individuals who far too often do absolutely stupid crap based on emotion. And to be very clear, I think that I haven't seen the video, but the idea of a Muslim girl in hijab twerking in the street, that is so beautiful, it brings tears to my eyes. Like, that is a woman dressing the way she wants and behaving the way she wants because of her choices. It turns out she only embraced a more, traditional form of the religion within the last couple of months. And the poor girl, if she hadn't been wearing the hijab, this wouldn't have been a thing. It was the combination of symbols that made, Captain Hollister and Mr. Adidas lose their Ishtar. And that brings me to my ongoing philosophical disagreement with PAX. For people who don't know what PAX, or specifically PAX East is, it's a gaming convention open to the public. It's overall a really great show. It's tons of fun. I went, I had a great time, but that was before the whole Jessica Negri, Lollipop Chainsaw, alternative costume debacle that led to the institution of the aggressive navel rule. And you'll notice that this is the safety and security page. We are oppressing you for your own safety and security, okay? It's the same logic. Modesty is safety. Are you starting to get the picture? And now we have here booth babe policies, not booth worker policies, not exhibitor policies, booth babe policies. Now, a booth babe, let me show you. Open up Google, type booth babe. All right. Do you see any men? I don't see any men. I see a lot of very attractive women. Oh, there's a guy taking a picture of the booth babes. Have I made my point? Okay. PAX is trying to redefine the definition of booth babe to try to get around the fact that they are primarily policing female behavior and female dress. Okay? Booth babes are defined as staff of any gender used by exhibitors. Well, then why don't you call it exhibitor policies, right? You called it a booth babe, PAX. We know what you're really calling out here. But it says to promote their products at PAX using overtly sexual or suggestive methods. And partial nudity, the aggressive display of cleavage in the navel, because guys do that. And short skirts higher than 4 inches above the knee are not allowed. If you're an exhibitor at PAX, you have to dress like you're in Catholic school. If for any reason an exhibit and or its contents are deemed objectionable to PAX management, the exhibitor will be asked to alter the attire of its staff, and then they go on to say that it's okay to dress like a dirty slut if you're a cosplayer, with exceptions. Cosplaying attendees right down here will also be asked, may be asked, to alter or modify their costume if it is considered overtly sexual. I can almost guarantee you they're not busting guys for dressing like Conan the Barbarian. We know what this means. It is the same motivation, the same logic that somehow physical modesty is empowering to women and a more exhibitionist streak is not. And the assumption, the underlying assumption, is that you can't possibly dress in a provocative manner for any other reason but to please men. And I'll tell you from firsthand experience that you can dress that way for a dialogue with yourself. In a mode of self-discovery, to see what it's like to inhabit that space, to, part of it is just to dress ridiculously. Not gonna lie, the absurdity of it is part of it. But part of it is to stand in a very unique type of feminine power that these modesty rules in the greater world do not allow us to do. These internet pile-ons are going beyond offense. When you have these ridiculous, sternly worded rules, this is control. This is artificially inhibiting a woman's behavior. And it's not right when PAX does it. It's not right when GDC does it. It's not right when a couple of twits on the internet do it to a woman for dancing in the street. And dancing in the street, quite frankly, it's a public street. She should be able to do what she wants. But let's face it, we can't. We can't in this day and age because the fraud that is fronting as mainstream feminism isn't feminist at all. The whole push towards, not dressing to please men in the 1970s was not about enforcing women to have to dress that way. It was, we're dressing this way to make a statement because we're not dressing the way you want us to. Now, the minute that becomes the norm, the minute the call it fugly chic, for lack of a better term, the minute that becomes the norm, the dork side becomes the norm, well, it doesn't matter what the oppressive norm is if it's an oppressive norm. If you are forcing women to dress a certain way, then the subversive act is the other way. So if we follow Judith Butler and we follow her theory of performing subversive acts of gender, it's not how much clothes or how few clothes a woman is wearing. It's how much her dress deviates from the norm. Because even these photos for a men's magazine, they wouldn't use some of these photos, believe it or not. They found them too risque. They found that part of it was because there was a spear, and note the angle. I thought that was funny. I thought it was right on the nose. That was me confounding the male gaze in a cheesecake photo. That was me saying, I know what this is, and I am going to put something somewhat phallic in this bikini photo shoot because, you know, men under the male gaze are not supposed to want to look at anything resembling male genitalia. So it was sort of, if you want to look at hot chick, you're going to look at something that, according to the textbook, is supposed to make you uncomfortable. And, you know, this was me doing feminist cheesecake. And it's the same here. You know, it's very different looking at a woman in a bikini when she's got a freaking rusted battle axe, right? It is not the same message. This is more just a gratuitous butt shot because I happen to like my butt. I'm not gonna lie, I love that pose. You can barely see it here, but when I did these photo shoots, I wouldn't let them airbrush out my appendectomy scar. And that was another big point of contention because I felt like airbrushing it out, and you can't really see it there. You can see how the skin folds because the way the light hits, you can't really see it. But I feel, and some of them did it anyway, and it pisses me off because to take that out implies it's ugly. And to me, that scar is a reminder that I almost died and was saved by medical science intervention. And so me, that scar is a symbol of survival. Oh no, you can see it there. It's really faint, but you can see it. You can see the appendectomy scar. I deliberately leave those in. I leave them in because first of all, it's reassurance, like you'll see the bikini is cutting in here. That's a real body. That's my real body, or it was at the time, covered in bronzer and all that stuff for photo shoots. Half that hair is mine, the rest is inserts. But I want people to look at these deliberately sexualized photos of me and recognize this is the way women look. Not the way you see in magazines where every so-called flaw is pushed away to do what? To do something that is subjectively different, but I don't believe is more beautiful. And so I owned my own image to make an artistic point. And that point at the time was sexual. Yes, it was. Because I believe that we will not have true equality as long as women can't be anything else the minute we are considered sexy. A guy dancing in a street, nobody would care what he was wearing. Okay, if he was wearing a bear costume, people might look at him askance, but everybody loves the dancing mascot. This headline was not because of a Just Dance display, because those are every E3. And we keep using these euphemisms. And let's face it, Microsoft didn't apologize for the dancers. Microsoft apologized for visible boobs. And not even nipple. Just sexy clothes. You know? Astronauts, that's interesting. And I think it's too bad that sexy for women is immediately synonymous with states of undress, but that's not always true. Look at Marlene Dietrich. She was very sexy, but she was covered. That is practically a hijab swimsuit right there, right? All she needs is a headscarf, and boom, she's ready to be a Muslim athlete. But she found a way to be sexy, fully clothed. It is possible. It is doable. She was subversive in her own right. And so if we can start broadening what is considered sexy for women, that's the goal. The aggressiveness inherent in all of these looks, that is aggressive sexuality. Come on. That is, I eat you for breakfast. That is, I eat Hitler for breakfast. That is, I eat directors for breakfast. And this is precisely what we lose when we start getting into the paradigm of modesty. This is not modest. Marlene Dietrich could rock it. I love this look. Oh, if I could dress like this every day, I would. That's my jam. Right there. Frickin' Raphael from Soul Calibur. Right there. This is, to me, what feminist sexy is. This is the goal. The freedom for a woman to choose to dress like this one day, and this the next day, and this the next day, and this the next day, and nobody gets on her frickin' case for it. Again, couple of hypocrites on the internet chastising a woman for dancing in the street wearing hijab, and the entire gaming industry chastising Microsoft for dancing girls. I defy you to really, honestly, and non-hypocritically tell me how these two complaints are different. Because instead of just going, they're having fun, and looking away, you decide that that woman's behavior says something about you, either as a man or as a woman. And you don't have to. I want to be in a gaming community where girls can be dancing around wearing less than Juliet and Lollipop Chainsaw, and that's okay. You know why? Because if we can do that and nobody bats an eye, then this means we're in a room full of guys who are in control of themselves, and we are in a room full of women who are self-assured,